Welcome to the SoCal Ballet Scene podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to the SoCal Ballet Scene podcast. My name is Rena Kamariotakis. I'm the artistic director, and this is Tanya Durbin. She's our associate artistic director, and we're excited to have you back with us for our second episode.
Yay! Hello, everyone. I have something that I think everyone would love to know as far as the start of the festival. What was it like in the audition process? Did you audition the dancers first, or did you go through all the submittals for choreography? Like, what was that first going into it? What was the very first step for the artists and for the choreographers?
Yeah, so first of all, I do want to say I wanted to create an open application process where anyone in the community could apply. I thought that was really important because, of course, I have my connections of dancers I know that I can just reach out to, but I did want to open it up for anyone. So in about March, I opened up these online application forms. I had one application form for freelance dancers and then another one for choreographers. So they're two separate forms that people could apply to. So, and I was collecting applications for both of those at the same time. And the reason I wanted to see the choreography coming in so that I knew what kind of dancers I might need to hire.
Oh, that's great.
You know?
Yeah.
So we got a ton of applications on the choreographer application form. I think we got like 20 choreographers that applied, and I only took 2.
Oh, that's great.
So, I mean,
wow.
What is that, 10%?
Wow.
The only reason I couldn't pick that many is because we were limited with the amount of time in the program, and we already had plans to do a large staging of Don Quixote, which took over 30 minutes, right, of the program. Plus, I need to save space for our guest companies that came in: Anaheim Ballet, Realm Company, Hollywood Ballet. So once you factor all that in, there's actually not a lot of time left in the program. So I had to be very picky about which ones were selected. But I'm glad I did an open application process because, like Claire, we selected her beautiful piece Kismet. I had never met her before in my life.
That was one of my favorite pieces. If you have not seen Kismet, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was a beautiful.
Done on Spion Ballet. I mean, it was just, she's so talented. New up and coming choreographer. So I'm excited to see what else she has planned.
Yeah. But it's things like that. I had never met her before. She just applied. She found out about it and applied. So it's nice to have an open application because you get little surprises like that.
Well, what was also neat was she not only had a piece as a choreographer, but she was also a dancer. She was in Swing Time in Sadie Black's piece. So that was kind of neat to see her on both ends,
yeah.
You know? So I loved seeing that.
Yeah. So, so actually those were the 2 pieces that we selected from that choreographer application process was Claire Bueller's Kismet and then Sadie Black's Swing Time. So, and I love the Swing Time had just a fun vibe about it. You know, it's set in the 1940s, and I knew the audience would get a lot of energy from it, joyful.
It was a great piece. Yeah, shout out to Sadie. Great job, Sadie. Yeah,
and I know wonderful. A lot of the dancers have told me that they really enjoyed working with Sadie in the studio and being in that piece. They said it was like one of their most favorite performances ever, just being in that piece because it's so fun.
Yeah, and you know, every choreographer brings their own kind of tone into rehearsals, and they're all unique and different. And what I loved about seeing Sadie in rehearsals is I loved her just her way that she's just like very laid back, but she got it done, and just her whole process of, you know, working with the dancers. I was able to kind of see that as I was like observing room to room, you know, seeing how, you know, our days went and everything. And just I loved her relationships with the dancers, just giving them kind of also room to just, I don't know, she just created this really neat environment where people just were relaxed, and I liked seeing that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I got a lot of positive feedback from the dancers saying they just loved working with her.
Yeah, so. Yeah, she was
Thank
great.
you, Sadie. And creating that positive environment is really important to me. Like, and I want the dancers to have a good experience out of this whole thing, and so that's important.
And that was super evident because I felt that when you asked me to come in, I saw that, felt it, and everyone, the energy, everyone was so excited when they were in there. When they would have company class, before rehearsals, and they were, the dancers get that training in, and they all just creatively came together. And but you felt the you had set the bar very high, and I thought that was really neat, just the environment, like you said, what you created for all of them, and not just for them but for the choreographers, for the whole, even for the staff. When we were in our the guild, when we have our meetings, with the board, the tone is really nice. So, and that comes from the top. So just huge shout out to Rena, great job. I mean, so that was really
Thank
nice
you.
for me to kind of be involved in a production, or a festival that had that atmosphere,
Positive atmosphere.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Because we all know, I mean, we've all been in, the ballet world can get kind of, I don't know what the right word would be, gritty, or, sometimes the negative side of things comes out. And so I really want it. It's important for me to have everybody have a great time doing this and a positive experience out of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they did.
Yeah. So your question about the audition process. So first I was accepting applications online from dancers, just, their resume and performing experience and all that. And then and I do ask for their Instagram handle, which maybe is a more modern concept. I know back in the day, like when you and I were in our prime, that wasn't even around.
We didn't have Instagram. We had emails. That's it.
But I think it is important now. That's how people are marketing themselves. I mean, you look at these principals at ABT, they really have to have a strong Instagram presence in order to sell tickets, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's part of your career.
Yeah, this generation. And that can be like a total positive, and that can also be very hard, on some artists, because not every artist is, most of the time artists are introverts, and they're not like extroverts. I mean, you do get your, but I feel like you're promoting and marketing yourself, so it's hard for dancers. But yeah, we like to
Well, so it just helps, instead of like submitting a dance photo, which might have been the more traditional route, I just look at their Instagram and see. It gives me an idea, if I've never met you before, maybe what your dancing skill might be like, and then from there I can kind of get a sense of like who I want to invite to the in-person audition.
So work on your Instagrams.
At least just put a couple of really good dance photos on there.
And some videos. We love to see the videos.
Yeah, videos are important. But yeah, so then I asked them to come to the audition, and you were there for that. You actually did a lot of behind the scenes video content of that audition, got some great videos.
That was fun for me because I was incognito, because no one hadn't been announced yet. So I was incognito, kind of like down here, like I was the camera woman.
Well, because I hadn't announced that you were the associate director.
So they didn't know who I was.
Like,
it's like,
who's
that girl? And I was like, just you wait. No, I can't wait to see you in class.
Yeah.
It was like a movie moment. It was so fun to be the camera woman.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was great.
Yeah, and just the audition I had a lot of fun teaching it, because there's so much talent in the room all at once. I mean, it was like that for the rehearsals all summer too, just all those amazing dancers in one spot.
But let's talk about that, because when you step in, I know from teaching, when you are in a room and you have this crazy energy from all that talent, it inspires you so much. Just as a teacher, and it inspires all of them, and it's one of the best atmospheres to be in, just to see all of that, in one room. Because in California there is not a quote major company, so when you're involved in these projects, it's just so special, because then it's that feeling of having a company lifestyle, so it was awesome. And seeing the guys for me was a plus, because you had
Alexander, super
tall, beautiful men, just these, yes.
Yeah.
Like doing their double tours and just seeing the
and
the
the women
guys.
feeding the energy off of each other too, like
Yes.
you know.
And it pushes them, so when they're in that kind of environment, especially in an audition, and you're seeing all the pros get together, it pushes them also. It's like you are able, it's not like it's just a class, like you're able to see them at their best, and that was beautiful to see.
Yeah,
that was really beautiful.
And at that time, I had known for a while that I wanted to have Don Quixote be a big part of this festival program that we did in 2024. So going into the audition, I had no idea who was going to play Kitri.
Yeah, how did you
idea.
make that decision?
Well,
that
I
was
was
a hard
like,
decision to make.
I need to find. So I do have personal contacts of dancers. I had, reached out to some that I knew would be good, and they were all like not available or out of town. So it's like I need a Kitri that's like, you have to have a good Kitri, right? If you're gonna do Don Quixote. So I decided to design the whole audition around Kitri's steps that she does on stage.
Her
I was like, let me see who can do this.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard stuff, right?
It is.
So a lot of the dancers actually really did a great job with it. All those like pirouettes and fifth, and there's the jump where she catches her attitude, her foot to her head. But Rachel was like, her personality really shined through. Yes. And so I was like, okay.
That fiery.
Yeah.
Kitri is all about that. I mean, she is so fiery. When you casted Rachel in that role, I was like, that was just the perfect, for me, that was just it matched her so well. It was so well cast what you did. So I loved watching her I felt like it was so neat because watching her, I mean, she's from New York City Ballet and she's just amazing, beautiful, just dancer in this area. But watching her just from day one in rehearsals and then to actually seeing her on stage, I mean, you just see her, she kept just reinventing that role, and I loved seeing the finished product, of what she came up with. So how it was interpreted on her end was so well done. So beautiful job, Rachel. It was such a joy to watch her dance, and also just as a person, she's just an incredible, humble human being. Loved seeing, and the professionalism that comes from that. When you're professional and you have those qualities of having that humility and just that openness, I loved seeing that in her character, actually. Her personal character, I thought that was truly,
I thought her and Edward really fed off each other well.
Yeah, they were perfectly paired.
I already knew way before even announcing the festival that I wanted Edward to be Basilio. Because I actually saw him do that role with Natasha Middleton's production. I think it might have been a year or two prior, and I was really impressed with just his portrayal of Basilio in Act 1, and I was like, okay, this guy's on fire. He's Basilio. Got that one in the back.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah.
Fantastic job.
Yeah.
So, really nice dancer. Yeah, I loved the story, which we're going to get to.
We will.
Of his role. So, that's going to come later. I loved that.
Should we just do it now?
Let's do it now.
Okay.
Let's tell the story. We're telling the story. Come on, you're going to tell us the story.
Okay, so I'm curating the, Don Quixote and the staging of it. I'm trying to grab like from different companies that I've liked. And, of course, Kitri has her variation, very famous. We've all seen it. Mercedes has her variation. When my partner who played Espada, Alexander, was like, we should take Espada's variation from Act 2 and put it in. I'm like, yeah, great idea, let's do that. So then Basilio did not have a variation though, and I'm like, we gotta give Edward a variation, come on. And so we've all seen that YouTube video of Mikhail Baryshnikov dancing Basilio, where he has the two goblets and he's like acting all drunk, and then he just does fantastic. It's not a mic drop, it's a goblet drop.
It's a goblet drop. Shout out to Baryshnikov.
I think we've all seen that video, right?
Yes.
And Edward had never gotten to dance that part before. He's done Basilio, but he's never done that particular variation. So I was like, well, that's a fun one. Everybody's gonna love that. So let's do that variation. So he started practicing it, right? And then I was like, okay, let me find the music for this variation. I could not find the music. I was searching through all the Don Quixote ballet music albums I could find. I could not find the music for that variation. I was like, what is going on? And what ended up happening was
And I remember this call, by the way. Like when she called me on the phone and said, "Oh no, guess what?"
At a certain point, we were in the studio running through the whole Don Quixote Act 1 from like top to bottom with the full cast. We get to that point where it's supposed to be Basilia's variation, and I have to say to Edward, sorry, I don't have your music right now. I don't know if I will by the time the show gets here, because the show's like, what, 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I end up finding out, so luckily, one of the recreational dancers that was in our corps de ballet, Darren, he plays the piano. He happens to know Stephen Mitchell,
That's amazing.
who's a very famous pianist for ballet class of music. He's like, why don't you reach out to Stephen Mitchell? I'm sure he'll be able to figure it out. So he email connected us. And Stephen Mitchell was like, yeah, that music is not Don Quixote, it's Paquita. It's Paquita pas de trois.
Wow.
And I was like, oh. So then when I went to Google Paquita music, I found it. It was right there. But then I realized, wait a second, this isn't part of the classic Don Quixote like choreography. Where did this come from? And then I had to do some digging. I realized Baryshnikov choreographed this variation. It's not from the classic staging of Don Quixote.
It was his like special premiere, only him.
Like when he was directing ABT, he did his own version of Don Quixote, and he just created this variation for himself that was not part of the ballet originally.
Which is so fantastic when you actually watch this YouTube video, because it goes so well with this scene in Don Quixote.
It does.
It's, you know.
Well, I think it was his choreography. So if you look at this variation from Paquita, it's different choreography to that same music.
Yeah.
So he took that Paquita music and created a like different choreography for Basilio's variation. I just love the whole drinking thing. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Just drop the goblets on the floor at the end.
Love it.
But I was like, shoot, how are we going to do this? So I actually reached out to the Baryshnikov Foundation, and this was like a week or two before the show. I was desperately like crossing my fingers, and they gave us permission to do it. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. It was a relief. And so then I got to go tell Edward, guess what? You get to do it after all.
And you know, it was one of the most amazing. I was in the audience watching the second show, and just watching that and his interpretation of Baryshnikov's variation, it was so incredible. The whole goblet drop, everyone was like, yes. I mean, you felt the fire and the energy on stage. It was, I mean, that was a really special moment also for him, I think, because he got to, you know, do that role.
Yeah.
That is so exciting.
All of the dancers that are in our ballet festival reside in Southern California. And that is what makes our festival, I think, so unique, is that it truly is a representation of the dancers that are here locally. And so one of those is Petra Conti and Eris Nezha. They live up in Los Angeles. They run the Hollywood Ballet, and they performed the White Swan Pas de Deux in our festival.
She was gorgeous, beautiful dancer.
Yeah, and both of them, they
really
have been, they were principals at La Scala Ballet, Boston Ballet, and Los Angeles Ballet. So they're considered like international principal stars, basically. So it was a really huge thing to have them on our stage. And I think even just taking like warm-up class with them on stage leveled up everybody else in the class.
It did. Yeah, that was really neat.
And Tanya taught our warm-up class that day. That was fun on stage.
Yeah, that was really neat, just to see all the dancers. It was so, when you're teaching class, not everybody could fit on the bars. So Rena actually had to assign spots for the dancers at what bars that they could be at. And then some of them were in the orchestra pit. And if you looked out, so if I'm teaching class on stage, I'd have to turn around and say what the combination was to all the dancers that had a chair in the audience, because they were actually holding onto the side of the stage. We have footage of it. It's really going to be neat to see that on the YouTube channel, because that was a special moment, having everybody do the warm-up before the performance.
Yeah.
Because then you had your Catherine Morgan, all the principals that were the guest artists, like she's, you know, Rena said, all of the international artists that are now in Southern California, they were, up until the rehearsals, they hadn't been, everyone wasn't, the whole cast was not together. So to actually see them together for, you know, dress rehearsal, a little bit, they weren't together for dress rehearsal the day before because people were coming at different times. So the day of the performance, it was really neat. The energy and the excitement that was in the theater, it was just, I was excited and I wasn't even dancing. I was just like, oh my gosh, I get to give plies to all these beautiful dancers. And it was just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite moments, is seeing all the dancers on stage for warm-up.
There were so many dancers. I mean, we had to double up on the bars.
So many dancers.
There was a lot.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Because the theater had those double bars that we could use where it's like two bars that are connected to each other like this. So that's kind of nice because then your hand isn't like competing with the person on the opposite side.
Yes.
But I think we got like, I want to say 10 people on each of those portable bars. It was really crowded. Because like you said, even then we had to have some people down below holding on the stage.
It was, I mean, they were all in the audience, the dancers, you know, doing their tondus and their dégagés. But it was neat to see them in the wings before warm-up also. Just like seeing, you know, just all the dancers warming up in between the wings and, you know, against the you know, back of the house. And it was really neat. Special moment. Yeah,
so it was really exciting. Nice just taking class with these stars like Petra, and then I got the pleasure of dancing with Alexander as my partner on stage. That was such a memorable experience. He's a former soloist from the Mariinsky Theater, which is like huge, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got to dance with a soloist from the Mariinsky. That was amazing. So yeah, he played the role of Espada and I did Mercedes, and it was an incredible experience.
Tell me, how did that come about? Like, how did that connection come about? Like, him being involved in the festival and like you guys partnering up. Like, what was the...
Yeah, so I invited Alexander and his wife Alina. I knew they were, you know, located here locally. I didn't know too much about them though. I just knew that they were in the area, and I invited them to come audition. I actually did not know that they were from the Mariinsky though till later on. I found out. But it's just, yeah, you know, they came to the audition.
And he brought the cape from the Mariinsky Theater. So that's going to be a whole other thing that
we'll
going to
show
talk
you
about.
Yeah, we'll show you right here in a clip. His practice cape was given to him by the Mariinsky Theater. So that was pretty cool, seeing him rehearse with that in the studio.
Everyone was talking about the cape.
Yeah, his back is so flexible too when he does those arches backwards.
And is he 6'4"? He's very tall. Very tall.
Very tall.
It seemed over 6'2", because when I was watching him in the audience, I mean, he took up that whole stage. But
yes.
Yeah. They're beautiful dancers, him and his wife.
There's a part where he lifts Mercedes up and Mercedes looking down, and I'm like, that's really high up in the air. He's tall.
How tall are you?
I am 5'7".
And point shoes, you're about,
I don't know,
5'9"?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good pairing.
Yeah. So then we had, he danced with his wife Alina in Claire's piece Kismet. That was really beautiful.
So beautiful. And then Alina was in Swing Time. She's a beautiful dancer. So beautiful quality.
Yeah.
In their dancing.
Yeah. And I think they do really well with that neoclassical style together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so neat to have them here in Southern California.
Yes, I think they just took over the Dmitry Kulov studio. Yes. So they're now running a ballet school, which is a big endeavor. But yeah, that was a great experience. He had done Espada at the Mariinsky, so he was already familiar with that role, which I did not know when I cast him as Espada that he'd already done Espada. Isn't that funny?
It all just kind of...
It literally was like, oh, he would make a great Espada. Well, apparently I'm not the only person that thinks that, because he did it at the Mariinsky also.
Yeah, as she said, his back was so flexible. It was incredible.
Yeah.
that part of the variation when he's doing all the cape work and his back is just,
Yeah, and I think
amazing.
we had 4 other male dancers that played the Toreadors, his group of Toreadors.
They
and
did so fantastic. They were amazing.
I think that they also maybe fed off of his energy, because Alexander comes on with so much fire and energy, and I think that really spread to the rest of the cast.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
The Toreadors, I mean, they brought the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, they were right there with him. So
Yeah, it was exciting.
And it was exciting for them. I mean, and being behind the scenes and kind of watching them, like the dancers, it would inspire them. Having these huge guest artists come and work with the locals, and the professional locals that are here, it's so inspiring for them. It just pulls them into this whole other caliber. I feel like that the dancers don't even know they have inside of them. It pulls that artistry, and that's so neat about SoCal ballet scene. I feel like is it's not just bringing the community together and the collaboration and all of the wonderful things that come with that, but also for the artists themselves. It brings them to a whole other level and really where they want to be, where they're aspiring to be. And so when you're in a room filled with so much talent, you just rise to the occasion. I saw every dancer on the performance day, from rehearsal into the show, rise to the occasion. They went beyond any expectation that I had seen or that we even thought. And so just congratulations to everyone. All the dancers were fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, just so many volunteers helped with this organization and this festival as well. I mean, we could not do this at all without our volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, you really have a strong board of directors and just the guild, and it's just so neat. And everyone is on the same page and excited and inspired. And I guess I've only been involved in the second festival, but the first festival, it seemed like each one, it's different and it's special and it's just kind of How do you feel about that? Like seeing the very first festival into the second festival and how the momentum is building, and as you're getting ready for the third festival, like, do you have anything that you want to showcase? Do you want to do anything different, or did you get something from the second festival that you want to implement into the third one?
To be honest, if I'm going to be really honest, I thought that the second festival in 2024 went so well.
Like, how do you top that?
That I don't know how we're going to top it. I'm kind of like that.
It was so beautiful.
It went so well. I mean, I love the program. The dancers were phenomenal. I mean, really, I don't know how we're going to top it. I really don't. We'll figure out a way. But
that's what we're going to be working on. We have our work cut out for us. But we're excited. Now, is the festival, do we want to tell the audience yet, or do we know what theater we're going to be using?
Yeah.
This year?
So the next festival is going to be September 13th, 2025 at the Irvine Barclay Theater.
So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
So we get to be at the Barclay.
So, and we weren't sure, before now we were on a cadence of trying to do this festival every 2 years. So now we're going to shoot for every year, which I think is exciting.
Yes.
So.
And there's a lot of support behind the scenes, and all the supporters, all the donors. I mean, it's so neat. A lot of people are getting wind of, SoCal ballet scene. And so it's kind of neat to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.